Hi Chris, how are you?
Hi Rod, yes, I'm well. Here we are, episode 196. It's the 26th of October. We're recording early because it's my fault, because I seem to have a crazy busy day and there's Formula 1 on late tonight. So here we are recording, and the weather is pretty autumnal. There's leaves on the ground and it's a little nippy, but a bit of sunshine. You know, it's one of those proper autumn days. How's the weather with you?
It's nice at the moment. Blue skies all round. I've got nice views over Swansea Bay, so yeah, it's okay. It's lovely.
I bet
and I am
you've
up.
got a great view of Swansea Bay with the sun and that. Lovely.
It's very nice indeed. And I am up early because A, the clocks went back, so that was helpful. B, I had a race to watch this morning as well, so I've done the MotoGP race from Malaysia this morning, and it was pretty good, I've got to say.
Yeah, so you're the opposite end of the time spectrum to me, because my race is in Mexico, and therefore we're the end of the day, so 8 in the evening rather than 7 in the morning or whenever you got up to watch it.
Yeah, it was 7, so 8 o'clock in the other way around. Whenever I got up to watch it, I'm beginning to lose track of when the clocks went forward. But they're back in Europe next week, so they're back in Portugal next week.
Ooh,
so
very nice.
Yeah, a bit more normal time for. It's normally it's like a 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock race start for MotoGP.
Oh, lovely. That'll be good.
Yep, that will be good. Should we crack on and do some follow up?
Let's do it.
So first up, and I thought, given our chats about legal stuff a couple of weeks back, and I've got to remember to do the trick with having another tab open before I can drag a tab in. I just thought this was interesting, advertising and legal stuff in Apple things, and this was Ben Sandowski on Mastodon who'd posted this. Out of nowhere, I got a full screen ad for Apple Arcade on my home screen.
That's pretty gratuitous, isn't it?
It's really nasty, that. I mean, I presume he's got a new phone and he's setting it up, but that doesn't matter. This should not happen.
No, I have seen. I can't remember. I have seen this myself. Actually, I can't remember where, but maybe sent somebody's phone up. Oh, stop it, Apple! And then you probably still get a badge on your settings page to go, you sure you don't really want to do this?
It drives me crazy that the last thing I want to see is a badge up there going, oh, you've got 28 days of your Apple protection thing left, or you could still sign up for Apple TV Plus, or it's not called that anymore, Apple TV. But sticking a full screen ad in your face like this is bad. I mean, this is right out of the Microsoft playbook. You're setting up Windows. Hey, have you thought about Office 365? Hey, have you thought about OneDrive? Hey, have you thought about Xbox Live? It's that.
Actually, do you know what? I logged onto my gaming PC just last night, and I hadn't used it in a while, and I was a little worried because it took me back through the initial setup screens where it goes, do you want O365? Do you want this? And I was like, why are you doing that now? Like, this computer's been set up for years. So I don't know whether it installed a patch, and then Microsoft prompts you, to reconfirm that you don't want to give them more money.
Yeah, it's the word that I'll choose carefully is egregious. All this kind of advertising is, I have bought the device, Microsoft or Apple. Please let me use it in my own way. Thank you.
Agreed.
Yeah, the joys of Linux where you don't get any of this stuff pushed in your face. Moving on.
That's what Apple used to be.
Yeah, that is what Apple used to be, and before they realised how much money they could get from services.
Agreed.
Speaking of Apple doing things that are on the dodgy side, we've talked about this repeatedly on this podcast, but Apple has lost its antitrust lawsuit over App Store fees, so this is potentially money for you and me, Chris, that Apple acting in an anti-competitive way on the App Store. They've been found in wanting by the Competition Appeal Tribunal, and it's abused its dominant market position to inflate developer fees, and I'm not really surprised.
No, surprise to nobody. Are we ever going to see any money from this, though? I don't even know how these things work. How do you prove all of this?
I mean, I guess 99p appears in your account at some point, or 3p or something like that. Presumably Apple just pushed back to all the people who've potentially been, let's face it, they have been abusing a dominant position. Them and Google maintain a duopoly in every market around the world, and we know that. No other company is going to be able to come in and upend that anytime soon either. So, I mean, it's all a bit chocolate fireguard stuff to me, really, that the UK really aren't going to hit Apple all that hard. They're too dependent on them. This has been shown down time after time, even when it comes to the ridiculous backdooring thing that the RIPA Act keeps coming up with. The UK government just step back from it all the time. There's no way they're going to enforce this in any serious way.
Yeah, agreed. I think it's good Apple being called out. Whether anything comes of it remains to be seen, but they've been found guilty. Apparently it's a 1.5 billion cost for them, which feels like a huge amount of money. And you just highlighted 36 million customers, so that's a lot of customers. And I guess it dates back to a time when we weren't all getting free apps and we were actually buying apps, because we don't really buy actual apps anymore. A lot are free, and obviously a lot of people, there's a lot of subscriptions. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this one plays through.
Yeah, I agree. What's 1.5 billion amongst 36 million? I mean, there's some mental maths for you.
But surely it's not an even. I don't know. That's what I mean. Would it be an even split, or would it be ratioed based upon how many apps you've bought and how much money changed hands? I don't know. How far back to Apple's financial records go?
I mean, I presume they keep it all. It's just a database table somewhere, isn't it?
Unless they've got their data protection policies where they don't keep it all because you need to keep it for 7 years. I don't know.
I wouldn't have thought Apple would think like that. Surely they'd want to keep that data for forecasting in markets and doing all those things. Data is always valuable.
Or maybe they want to get rid of it because they don't want to have to pay back loads of money.
Yeah, maybe. But anyway, it's interesting, and I guess we'll see what happens with the payout and things. But it's interesting that increasingly we're seeing regulators take Apple to task over this stuff, which is only right and proper. But I just feel like they've been defanged a bit with the whole American government situation. We see what's going on with the EU, and we're going to be talking about the EU later as well. But we'll see how much the UK are willing to push on this.
Yeah, no, that will be interesting.
Something else that's interesting, we talked about the Sky app, getting on for about 6 or 7 months ago. This was an AI-based, LLM-based app that would try and do things on your Mac for you. It had Finder integration, so you could get it to do, various actions that you might do, deeply integrate with an LLM within the Finder. It was by the people that had done Shortcuts. So Shortcuts is an app that's baked into iOS and macOS these days. That Apple actually bought, integrated, took the developers inside of Apple. They got a bit fed up and left after a period of time, probably because they saw how slowly Shortcuts was being developed, and went and launched the Sky app. Anyway, OpenAI have gone and bought that team.
Which was a bit of a surprise, I think, because I think everybody looked at the Sky app. It's like, oh, surely Apple's just going to go buy them again. Because it looked great at automating the Mac using AI. And it was like, why wouldn't Apple buy this and do what they did with Shortcuts all over again? And OpenAI have come in and eaten their lunch. I think we've got a bit on OpenAI later, but it's very interesting what OpenAI are up to. For a company that doesn't make any money, they seem to be throwing their money around.
Yeah, I mean, it's the next big thing, isn't it? As we repeatedly keep saying, it's the next big thing. And this is where all the energy from the big tech companies are going at the moment. I still think the bubble is going to burst on this because, like you just said, OpenAI, the biggest dog in the room, are losing money. And this can't go on forever. And I think it's going to be a massive bubble when it pops. And again, I struggle to see a lot of the productivity benefits of stuff like this. Stuff that's written with AI is very obviously still written with AI. And this kind of thing where there's a bit of automation, I wouldn't trust it to be embedded on my computer in the same way that we've pushed back so hard on the Microsoft recall thing. I wouldn't want OpenAI having deep hooks into my computer like this.
No, I can understand that. I think OpenAI... And I kind of got there with Google. I just didn't trust them. And it feels like OpenAI are going in the same vein as Google or Meta. And it's a bit worrying because OpenAI is a bit more of a generalist solution rather than just a social network or a search engine. And I don't know, it feels a bit of a concern to me. I like some of what they're doing. I think it's clever. But do I trust them? And maybe that's something to pick up in the main show.
Yeah, I think that probably is. I mean, the example given in the Sky thing here, you've got a calendar appointment and you ask the GPT, find a bar near here, and it tries to do that for you. I mean, that's all stuff that, we probably felt we should be doing. If you watch Iron Man and you've got the assistant that Tony Stark speaks to all the time, that's the kind of thing you want an AI assistant to do. That stuff runs on Tony Stark's own computers, though. He's not trusting Oracle or someone to do it for him.
No, but he's super and can code all his own stuff, so he's fine.
Yeah, he's got a lot of money as well. That probably helps. Should we talk about Strava?
Yeah, we spoke about that, I think, just a couple of weeks ago. Strava suing Garmin, and now they're not suing Garmin anymore after just 3 weeks, 21 days.
Yeah, so we said at the time, this is a super odd lawsuit. They were obviously quite close partners. People would buy Garmin stuff just to have Strava on it, Strava being a major feature. They had sort of fairly deep corporate links between them. It's not like Garmin, Strava have devices of their own, so you want something to do that. And nobody wants to get in bed with Apple or Google more than they have to, so Garmin's the other player. That's obvious. So this was always a really weird lawsuit. Anyway, they've given up on it, and I quite like the sort of sub-headline on the Engadget article here. Brave Sir Strava ran away, which is a Monty Python and the Holy Grail reference for those that don't get it. But yeah, not the best use of money, I would suggest, Strava.
Oh, look, it's just all a bit odd, and it's probably not helped a relationship that both sides probably need. It just all seemed a bit strange, isn't it? And there is no comment from Strava on it, even though they've been asked to comment. So, yeah, I guess watch this space. But yeah, hopefully they've realised it was a misstep and have just backed out. You kind of want the Clipper Homer going back into the hedge now, don't you? Like nothing to see here.
Yeah, you very much do. And it was in response to Garmin API guidelines that required the Garmin logo to be present on every single activity post, screen graph, image sharing card, etc. I mean, okay, it's a bit of an overreach by Garmin to do that. At the same time, it's their platform.
It's also a bit of an overreaction from Strava, I think. You can kind of see why Garmin do want the logo there, because it's, okay, I'm using Strava, but how did I get this data? And, do users think it's all Strava's data? And then I guess Garmin want people to realise, no, this is all coming from your Garmin device. Maybe that's how it is. So I could argue this one both ways, I think.
Yeah, and that's again what we see with these kinds of companies is they think they've got a right to the platform. And certainly Apple do, certainly Google do, certainly Meta do. It's that theme just re-emerging all the way down through tech, even to smaller players like this.
Yep, no, you're right.
Moving on to Apple and smaller players, they're still not happy with the EU. They haven't been happy with the EU for quite a while, particularly when it comes to the Digital Millennium Act. Is that what it's called? DMA?
Markets.
Yeah. Digital Markets Act. Sorry, I'm getting my acts confused. Another thing that Europe might not get is apparently app tracking transparency is a thing Apple launched. It's got to be getting on for 4 or 5 years ago at this point.
It's been a while.
The big sort of scandal at the time when it came out was you had to say within your app exactly what data your app was gathering. So Meta particularly didn't like this. The fact that Meta were taking everything and they had to say that at the top. And you could ask an app not to track you across other things. Anyway, there's been intense lobbying within Europe that Apple is abusing its position on this and basically taking all the data for themselves rather than allowing other people to have access to that. And as a response to that, the EU, Apple have said they may turn off app tracking transparency in Europe. And this just feels like it's my ball and I'm going to run away with it more than anything else to me.
Yeah, I don't know. Apple's not doing things I agree with. They always want to be the bigger person in the room, and a lot of their behaviours aren't that at all, are they? And this is just another example of Apple. And it's hard when you see these articles to go, come on, like, we used to believe in you being the better place to go, and then we've had the adverts, and then we've had some of the other things. I don't know. It's very disappointing.
I agree. It's very disappointing. Something that's slightly less disappointing, although the speed at which they do it is we talked about the Tea app, I think about a month ago at this point, this sort of vibe-coded dating app for women, which was very poorly coded from a security point of view, and you could download entire profiles, pictures, email addresses, dating details, and everything from any of the people on there. Massive privacy problem here. Apple have finally dumped the dating app Tea and TeaOnHer from the App Store. A bit slow, aren't you, Apple?
Yeah, 100%. And Apple really struggle with this. Sometimes they seem to pull things really quickly, and other things just seem to sit on there for ages. They've never really got a good line, have they, of managing the App Store, of what to let through and what to, stop and pull and deny. I guess it's good they've done it, yay. But why wasn't this done quicker?
I mean, like I say, we talked about this, and we're a weekly podcast. We don't keep a day-to-day eye on what's going on in the space. So how Apple wouldn't have been aware of this with the money and the resources they have available to them? The danger it's putting their users that they apparently protect more than anything is worrying. How quickly did they pull down the ICE app, the ICE tracking app, in response to the United States government? This is very slow, and this is a very poor look.
Yeah, agreed. I guess, though, a lot of this just gets lost in the sheer quantity of apps that they have on the App Store, and Apple have just never really got to grips with policing it very well, have they?
No. Anyway, hopefully the users have some sort of recompense for this, because this is, it's the company's fault. It's not Apple's fault that they poorly wrote the app in the first place. Apple could have been more protective of their users, though, because that's what they claim they want to be. That's just kind of where I come down on it. Anything else on that, or should we move on to the news?
Let's go to the news.
Let's do the news, and in our best BBC voices, because it's a BBC article. We had a massive web outage. When was it? Last Tuesday? 23rd of October, or thereabouts. 3 days ago. Where Amazon had a problem with their DNS. It's always DNS on their East Coast servers.
DNS is complicated, though, isn't it?
DNS is complicated. For those that don't know, DNS is what turns a computer's IP address, 192.168.1.1 or whatever, into the name. But there's an awful lot hidden behind that, particularly in these days of SSL certificates and DKIM and all the other stuff that's sort of hidden away in the background of all that. So it's complicated, and it is generally on my home network. It's the thing I tend to mess up the most, so I'm not surprised they struggle with it on this sort of scale. Anyway, this big outage took out lots of services in the UK and across America. Just the east coast of America took out things like Snapchat, Reddit, Lloyds Bank, and 1,000 other sites, including, we noticed, Slack performance at work. It took out some banking apps. It took out Roblox, and I think a bit of Fortnite. It took out the Epic web store. Quite a significant impact.
Do you know how much of it I noticed?
In your little Microsoft bubble?
Absolutely nothing. My world was fine. Various websites I use, fine. My work, fine. Personal life, fine. So for me, it was a non-event. And it was only because it was on the BBC that I realised, oh, there's a big outage going on today. So I think I was lucky, but I'm probably an anomaly.
I mean, it's not like Azure Web Services haven't had their days out as well, where teams just decide to take the day off. So, I mean, these things happen to all big companies.
Yeah, agreed, it does.
And, you know, the CrowdStrike thing was entirely affecting Microsoft servers. So, you know, you can't say.
Yeah, that's true. So, big outage came down to just simple DNS. And DNS, like the core of it is very simple. The implementation of it is very complicated. Like you say, it's a way of taking www.amazon.com and sending it to its network address underneath. And
ironically, Amazon itself, Amazon.com, didn't go down, which amused me no end.
Yeah, that is interesting. We're fine, but our customers are not.
Yeah, everybody else is messed up. However, moving on to the second story within this. If you had an 8, what's it called? I've forgotten the name of the bed. They're smart beds. And they're called 8 Sleep or something like that. 8 Sleep, yeah, there you go. It's a $2,000 mattress called 8 Sleep, and it does things like warm up for you or be cooling or adjust your position. Anyway, because they're internet connected beds, they stuck in an upright position with the heating on maximum as soon as this web service went. So they were cooking people in their beds at a funny angle.
That's not good, is it? That's not good. And look, this morning I couldn't let my chickens out because my internet connected door had lost power and it wouldn't work, and there's no way to manually override this electric door. So you kind of see it, don't you? We rely on a lot of this tech to do quite mundane things. When it goes wrong, it can go wrong very badly.
I mean, much as I love having my smart lighting and heating and all that kind of stuff, garage door opener, it does break a reasonable amount of the time, and you kind of expected it. It does, like the garage door opener particularly, just occasionally decides not to work anymore, and you've got to go back to the old-fashioned remote control for it. So the fix for that is I unplug it and plug it in again, and then it's off to the races. And that's generally the way that most of these things. I mean, the old IT crowd, if you try turning it off and on again, is definitely a feature. My bed, however, I do not want that connected to the internet. And I mean, there's a fix for this out now. In the second story on this, they've added an outage mode to smart beds to stop them overheating and stopping at strange angles again. But how ridiculous is this?
How did some of this not get tested before being released? That's what worries me. And also, they seem to have added that mode within 3 days. That's a bit worrying, isn't it? Like, that doesn't feel like that's going to be that well quality assured.
I mean, how complicated can it be? It's a mattress.
Yeah, I've got no desire for one of these. I think I do like smart lights, I must confess, and they, in our house, they generally work. But I think I would agree with you in that I think you've got to be pragmatic on what we put smarts on and what we don't. And there's a fine line, isn't there?
I mean, presumably this is collecting some sort of sleep data on you as well, where you move around, how often you're restless in bed, whether you've got restless leg syndrome, I don't know, stuff like that you could think might be useful to be able to pick out that your smartphone couldn't do or your watch couldn't do. And on one level, we trust the big tech companies trust in inverted commas these days to have our health data. I know you don't have an Apple Watch anymore, but you still count your steps on your phone, and I think you have a Garmin, so you trust tech companies in some sense to be able to collect that information on you. It's not that much of a stretch, is it, to do this kind of thing? However, there's something slightly more invasive about it being in the bedroom. It's like when those Amazon Echo devices came out and people were saying this would be a great bedside screen for you. I don't want a bedside screen. I don't want a device with a camera on it next to my bedside. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you there. I think what I've learned, though, is you end up with all this data, and I never really look at it. The only thing I did the step counting for, and I probably don't need to do it anymore because I know I'm doing my 10,000 a day, but it was interesting to change behaviour, and then I don't really need it because I don't need to change the behaviour anymore. I've done the behavioural change, if that makes sense. And that's why I'm not that fussed about collecting this data, if I'm being honest with you, because I just don't go back and look at any of it over the long term.
Yeah, I think it does matter to some people, though. People obviously care about their data and sort of whether that lifestyle modification they've changed is continuing to have an impact on them. I think that's really important. As a researcher, I know how important it is to capture this kind of data over the long term to see what impact it's having on people. So whether you don't care about it anymore, the people who have the data at the other end very much do. So what you want is to reinforce that behavioral change in case you slip back, and it's worked well for you for one thing, but maybe tomorrow you might start caring about, I don't know, your resting heart rate or something like that, and it might become important to have it again. So I think there's value in these things. They just need to be more transparent about what happens when it breaks, where it ends up, and what happens if you decide to delete your data, because the last two things are really important.
Yeah, that's true. Deleting data and exiting something is hard, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Moving on, and this I thought would be of particular interest to you, as I know you've been dabbling with a bit of Xcode this week. One thing everybody struggled with is sort of cross-platform stuff, and there are cross-platform development kits where I want to say Joplin, but it's not Joplin because Joplin's a notepad app. I can't remember the name of the technology that will let you do it. But anyway, Flutter. You can use Flutter to write apps that will build both for Android and both for iOS. Up till now, you have only been able to use Android's native development tools to develop things on Android. Then this last week, however, a Swift software development kit has been made available for Android, and you'll be able to use Swift to actually build apps on Android, is the ultimate goal of this.
Which feels like, didn't we already have this? If I'm being honest, like it feels, and again, using it for the web is a thing, and it feels like it's taken a long time to get to this place. I quite like Swift as a language. I can do a few things with it, but I'm more using help guides to get there because I'm just not that. I don't use it all day every day, but it's a great language. I find it quite pleasant to work in. I know there's always controversy around various decisions that they've made, but actually I really like it. So I'm amazed this isn't a thing, but obviously it's got to be good, hasn't it? Because even for Apple, you want people to be able to code in at once and, share it, surely. I mean, how do Apple code their Android apps and things? So, they're using Android's native tools. So this has got to be surely good for everybody.
I was close. It's called Kotlin, not Joplin. So Kotlin is the language that you write Android apps in. It's very close to Swift, actually. If you mess around with it a little bit, it's quite close in sort of syntax and behavior to Swift. Underneath it all compiles back to Java because Android actually runs on Java. But yeah, Kotlin, and they're quite close languages. So that's if you do use one of these sort of cross-development framework things, you can actually develop quite closely. But having Swift, if you're a Swift developer, I think it's not cynical. I think having the tools available that you're familiar with are what you want when you're on one of these platforms. If you are a Swift developer and you want to get up and running quite quickly in Android, then stick to the language you know rather than having to learn something entirely new or that's not a million miles away from what you know. I don't know how well used this will be, frankly.
I think that is the problem. And is it another thing Apple's released and we see it so often with little apps? Do they then actually maintain it? Like Swift Playgrounds just isn't maintained, is it? So, I'm curious to see where this is going to go.
Yeah. Something else that I'm curious to see where this is going to go is Apple continuing to pay for bits of the United States government, or what Donald Trump wants to do for his modifications for the White House in this case. So we know that they've given him a bit of a prize. We know they've given a donation to his electoral inauguration event, and now they're actually one of the primary funders of the remodeling of the White House and the ballroom that's going to be part of the East Wing. And I just thought this is turning into a pattern now, isn't it?
Yes. Like Trump wants to do things. Oh look, I'll just get my business buddies to pony up the dosh. I don't know. I'd love to know where Tim really feels on this, because obviously there's a lot of talk about Tim stepping down, and I wonder whether all of this has accelerated his plans because he doesn't maybe agree with it, but they seem to still be doing it anyway.
I find it very grim. I really do. I don't, if the people of the United States needed a new ballroom in the White House, then surely that should come from funds that are gathered from the people of the United States. It shouldn't be funded by big ballroom funded by Meta, funded by Apple. Doesn't really seem right.
I completely agree. Do you think they're going to have like logos as you go in to say who sponsored this?
Yeah, this dance tonight sponsored by iPhone. I mean, we won't only have advertising on our phones. We'll have it if people go and visit the White House now. It's all a bit grubby and tacky.
Yep, I just find it very weird. But do you think this kind of behaviour will then go to other countries? Is it like, wow, if that's how they get it done, we don't need to fund it ourselves. Why don't we all do this?
I mean, I don't want to pursue that thought. Maybe that's a thought for another day. Let's move on and talk about a tech product. Have you seen this new shoe from Nike?
No, I had not. So what's this? Nike says it's first powered footwear. It's like e-bike for your feet. I like the sound of this, though.
This is going to help you run and help you walk. So it's a battery powered thing that's going to assist your running, your jogging, your walking. In the same way that bikes will give you pedal assistance, this is going to give you step or running assistance. I'm
confused. Sorry, a slight pause was. I'm confused though. Surely though, you're still driving the same legs and knees and joints. How's this going to help? Surely it's going to make me. I don't know. This sounds like this could be quite painful.
I genuinely don't know. I just thought it was an amazing thing. This is an article from The Verge on October the 23rd, and it literally shows like a running shoe, like an exoskeleton thing stuck on that you tape around your calf. I have no concept of how this is going to work, but the point is you'll be able to go further and faster with less effort, in the same way that my bike, and we're going to talk about another bike further on in the show, I still have to pedal it, but it makes the pedaling a little bit easier. I presume it's like that.
I'm just curious because, yeah, like I say, how's it going to help your knee and your legs I don't know. I just find this really confusing. I get how it works on a bike. I'm curious to see how this is going to work. And look, maybe a year from now we're all wearing these, and I'll eat my words. But I'm confused. I don't see how this is going to help.
I mean, things like this I do find interesting when it comes to rehabilitation and things. That people who've had injuries or recovering from surgery, they've got a chronic disease or something. Anything that can help them and maintain their mobility, I think is fantastic. And if it can come to help that kind of person, because let's face it, it's not just about power and walking. If you've got a disability, you can put gait and balance and things like that as well. If devices like this, commercial devices like this, can help, and you don't need to spend an awful lot more on sort of very specialized medical technology, well, once it's had all the relevant approvals, of course, this is potentially it could benefit a decent section of the population, as well as helping runners and things like that. I mean, I can't think the Ironman are going to allow this kind of stuff. If you're a marathon runner, I can see the London Marathon, professionals banning this very, very quickly. Yep. But it's a fascinating segment of technology that we haven't really covered before.
No, I agree with you. And I struggle walking. I've got a problem with my leg. And if I could buy something that would help me walk without being in pain, I would 100% buy something like this.
Yeah, interesting. The other thing that's interesting, and I just thought this is worth pointing out, is every week we have Verge articles, and every week we get a problem with the advertising thing comes up where it won't let me scroll. Why is it letting me scroll this week?
Maybe they've changed it. Maybe they've reduced how in your face it was. And I love the Verge, by the way. I think they usually have some really good articles, and they've got some great journalists there.
I 100% agree. They're great. I just find the continuous demand for money a bit of a pain in the bum. I mean, I don't mind them funding it by advertising. I wouldn't mind seeing advertising as long as it lets me scroll by it. But yeah, odd.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there.
Something else that's odd, or maybe not so much, is Samsung copying the Apple Vision Pro. So this week, the Samsung Galaxy XR dropped. It looks quite like a device we're familiar with.
It looks like version 2 though of a Vision Pro, doesn't it? Because it looks a bit thinner, a bit lighter, and it's hitting a much cheaper cost point. So it's interesting what they've done here. They've got the basic look of a Vision Pro, but they've done it their own way, which I quite like. And somebody who would love to have a Vision Pro and try it out, this is at a much better price point. It's still very expensive, but it's roughly half the cost of a Vision Pro.
Yeah, and that's quite interesting, isn't it? I think it's got a lot of the same technology concept that are built into the Vision Pro. It has the cameras, it has the same sort of isolation that's built into it. It's got good sound, good optics within it, and crucially can run almost all Android apps, as opposed to just the small sprinkling that Apple have blessed within the iOS store for the Vision Pro.
That is quite cool, I think. I think the fact most people could buy one of these and run everything they've got on their phone is pretty neat. I'm quite impressed with it. I thought Apple did a good job of going, look, it runs with all your iPad apps, and that seemed to make a lot of sense. But Apple haven't even supported all their own apps, have they, for Vision Pro? So it's not been a great look for them. I think it's disappointing. I'm curious to see where this goes because, I see a lot of my children's friends with Meta Quests and they're sort of around the 2 to 4, 500 price point generally. Then you've got Vision Pro at the top end, and I've not seen one outside of an Apple store. And then you've got this coming in basically bang in the middle, haven't you, I think? So I'm curious to see how this is going to go. And it does look a lot smaller and a lot lighter. So
I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head there, that this is almost less about the device and more about the ecosystem that you can tap into and the experiences that you get. So Meta have obviously had their Meta Quest running for a while. It's very much focused on gaming with a little bit of businessy stuff built in there as well, but it's largely a gaming headset. This is obviously the Android pitch at that. And if this Google VR platform or AR platform takes off in the same way, it takes off in a way that Vision Pro hasn't, then this will win. It's as simple as that. With all the might of Android behind it, that's quite a big deal. I mean, Google have got a habit of starting things, getting bored and walking away, which is sort of the biggest problem with this. Apple have shown they've got a little more skin in the game by they've put out the M5 Vision Pro, so I think that's an indicator it's not going away just yet. But I don't see people building amazing apps for the Vision Pro. We don't talk about amazing Vision Pro apps every week. In fact, I think the last thing we talked about was either the basketball thing last week, that if you're in a particular area, you can get it. Before that, it was a 6-minute MotoGP app from a French rider. And that's all we've talked about.
Yeah, it's disappointing. And I really would love a Vision Pro, and I want to love it, but I think if I had one, I'd probably quite quickly go, actually, there's not that much here for me, sadly. Which is a shame because I'd love to watch movies in it. You can see some of the benefits of it, but it's just not, for whatever reason, it's just not made much. It's a bit like it's probably the opposite of the Apple Watch. The Apple Watch really landed and ended up going everywhere. They did have a troubled app story with it, whereas this just, Apple haven't even put their own effort in. Even 2-3 years down the road, they haven't really brought many apps to it. I'm glad they've kept the OS going and they've kept that in lockstep. But why aren't you bringing your apps to it? Like every month you should be bringing another Apple app over and get all your suite over. I do wonder on some of that whether there's some shoes to drop of 26.1 coming out, like for the other ecosystems, because Apple haven't released their own apps yet, and I wonder if they're waiting for some bug fix release to go in before they then drop pages and numbers and all of that, just on our phones, let alone on a Vision Pro.
Yeah, I think we can talk about that a little bit later. I mean, my last thought about this particular thing is, if this was a £500 headset that gave me Dolby Vision, Atmos, blah, 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 and let me get out of the external world, I would buy one. I would wear it on a plane. I would wear it on a train. I wouldn't care about how people thought of me when I was in that, because it's that isolating experience that you kind of want when you're trying to zone out of what some of those atmosphere. The extended desktop stuff's handy, but frankly, what I'd want this for is for those personal moments when you just want to watch a film or something and you want to isolate yourself from, something like that. Perfect. You traveling on business, you're in your hotel room. There's not a lot going on. You've got some poxy TV that Travel Limit or Premiere have given you. Wouldn't it be great to sit back on a 70-inch screen or whatever like that and just immerse yourself in this kind of thing? That's the sweet point.
Agreed.
And I think Android have a better chance of getting there, or Samsung have a better chance of getting to that £500 price point than Apple do. And Meta don't seem interested in this kind of thing at the moment. I think you can do some fairly limited stuff like that, but it's gaming is their focus. So I think a high-quality, immersive experience at about £500 is a win. Let's see who gets there.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and this is a great start because they're already halfway there compared to Apple with the price point.
Yeah, totally. Somebody else that's dabbling in the smart glasses is, unsurprisingly, Amazon, and Amazon are going to give their delivery drivers smart glasses that will route them directly to the person they need to hand the package to quicker. I mean, this is the promise of the future, right?
Wow. Okay, this is curious, isn't it? I guess you can kind of see it. Like, if you drive in and out the van all day, you don't want to be getting your phone in and out, which is probably what they're doing now. It does kind of make sense. Like, you've maybe got directions where you should drive and you get out on foot to do the last bit. It takes you to the door. Maybe you can take the photo of you delivering it at the same time. Like, it does kind of make a lot of sense.
Yep, you can see there's cameras built into the lenses. You also think for law enforcement and the military and people like that, stuff like this, it makes absolute sense. It's like that scene in Aliens where the lieutenant can see what all the Marines are doing all the time. Also, it's safe for the person. If you're attacked by a member of the public delivering your package, or if you're a police officer, you don't need to wear body cams like that. You've got all that to hand. So when it comes to that kind of situation, you can absolutely see the benefit of this kind of thing.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. We are still back in that world there of everything being recorded all at once.
Yeah, for this kind of thing, I mind it less. I mean, all right, you could answer the doorbell in your dressing gown or something like that, and somebody's going to see you from that point of view. But as a means of ensuring that the employee doesn't do anything untoward to the members of the public, and the members of the public aren't doing anything untoward to the employee, and you know what's going on with the packages and stuff like that, because we all demand to know where our package is all the time. I kind of see this.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, I think, and it sounds like it would make their day a lot better, because they'd have that information at their fingertips. So I think it looks cool. It's a cool bit.
And they'll have the video of them peeing in bottles, so, that's a whole thing too.
Lovely.
And because I know you love the odd medical story, Chris, because it makes you go a funny sort of pale colour, I thought you'd enjoy this one. That's not helpful. Continue without supporting us. There we go. Some animals are known to breathe through their rectums and their anuses.
Lovely.
And if you think how bad the COVID pandemic was for getting ventilators, people having respiratory problems and all the rest of it, then it's obviously a significant problem. We could find improved ways of helping people breathe when they're in a critical condition. That could be a really, really powerful thing. Anyway, a group of researchers last year who won last year's Nobel Prize are actually making serious progress in finding a way of carrying out breathing in this way rather than always through the main part of your respiratory system. And I just think using capillaries within your bowel, I just think this is incredible.
I did not expect us to have this conversation today. It is incredible tech, I agree, but wow.
The technical term is enteral ventilation via anus, and I just think this is just amazing. The progress we can make with science, and the allegory they give in the article is if you've seen the film The Abyss, where they fill Ed Harris's lungs up with fluid before he goes very, very deep, but manages to breathe through the sort of fluorocarbon stuff that they give him. It's that kind of stuff. It's a perfluorocarbon liquid called oxycyte. Amazing.
Wow, okay.
Amazing. So there you go. There's a conversation you didn't have to expect to have on a Sunday morning, but you got to admit, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I completely agree. I was not expecting that.
That's why you should always take a close look at the show notes, Chris. You never know what I'm going to sneak in there.
Fair point.
Shall we do a car corner?
Go on then. You seem to be good at finding some interesting car stuff. I think I've gone a bit off cars lately.
Oh, really? And I've clicked the wrong link. Bear with me just 1 second. Yeah, so first up, and this blows my mind, that Tesla have apparently introduced a version of a driving assistance in the car called Mad Max mode, which will
not
drive.
A good name, is it? Like that doesn't sound good to me.
So there's two modes that's come. There's like a super chill mode that will sort of gradually wisp you there, and then there's Mad Max mode, which will aggressively overtake traffic in order to get you to your destination quicker and will exceed speed limits. More than that, it's been found to do like 75 and a 50. It's run red lights. It's crossed stop signs. It's done all sorts of stuff. So I can't remember the name of the agency, NTSA, I think it is, in America, are actually actively investigating Tesla. What engineer thought this was a good idea? What the hell?
Well, surely there's more than one. This has got to be a group of people that have gone, we should do this, and we should invest effort in it. Why would you do this? And how did this get allowed to get, for people to actually use? You're actively breaking the law. Sorry, I thought the whole idea of automation was we wouldn't have breaking of the law, and we would have much safer cars travelling, and obeying the speed limits and stop signs so that we had less accidents, whereas this just seems to be blatantly going the opposite direction.
Yeah, it's really bad. And as someone who had a Tesla and didn't entirely trust its limited auto driving, where it would brake for shadows and things like that at 70 miles an hour on the motorway, slam on the anchors when there's cars behind you, I would not trust this at all.
No, I was never one to buy a Tesla. I like some of the tech, but this is not inspiring any confidence in me.
Oh, Mad Max mode? Seriously?
Just crazy, isn't it? Well, I just don't understand. We want safer cars, we want less people being injured. This is not the answer, is it?
And do you think Tesla has entirely autonomous vehicles in some cities in America now?
Yeah.
Do they come with that?
And do they just put themselves into Mad Max mode and off they go?
It's just madness. Something that's not madness and a bit interesting is Tesla's great rival is Rivian, and I know this isn't a car, but I thought it was interesting to show anyway. We talked about supportive footwear. We're back to e-bikes at this point. Rivian has announced its first e-bike. It's got pedal by wire, so your feet aren't actually connected to the chain that powers the bike. Your feet are connected to a generator. You power the generator, and then the electricity from the generator powers the wheels. That's the way that this works. It's quite different looking, I think, as a bicycle goes.
It is quite, yeah, it looks like a weird bike, I think. It's got a massive big square cube where the pedals are, which is obviously all the clever gubbins. I'm amazed Tesla are doing this because surely they got
Rivian.
Oh, I got the name wrong. Surely Rivian have got enough stuff to deal with, like with their, getting their cars and their trucks out the door. And yet they're going to go and make bikes and quads now. Seems quite odd to me. It's an interesting looking thing. It looks quite big and chunky, though. That's the only thing I would say. But maybe you don't feel it because it's doing a load of the work for you.
I like the fact that it's modular. So if you decide you want it to be a cargo bike, you can just bolt on a frame to it. And, then you've got load carrying capacity as well. There's quite a lot to like about this bike, I think. It also comes with a helmet, should you choose the helmet as well, which is like brake lights and lights for the rider on top as well.
That's cool.
Which is also nice. Now, I have a lot of time for Rivian, actually. I think ever since I watched Long Way Up, where they put in some of the charging infrastructure for Ewan and Charlie to go from Ushuaia to Mexico City, to San Francisco. And they gave them the prototype vehicles, which you've watched the most recent Long Way Home. They're still using those prototype vehicles. They've more finished ones now, but they still have the Rivians. I've seen Rivian delivery trucks when I was in Chicago last year, that they're out there working for Amazon as e-delivery trucks as well, using the same powertrains as the Rivian trucks. I think they're an interesting company. The fact they don't put CarPlay I still think is a bit of a negative. But this is an interesting product. I can see the link from an e-vehicle, an EV, to a bike like this. It makes sense for sort of personal transportation that you have this kind of stuff. And I'm a big fan of e-bikes. They need to be a bit less nickable. But other than that, I think this is a super interesting concept.
I agree with you. I think it does look good. I thought they never sounded like they were all over their car production, and it sounded like they had some issues there. So I'm just amazed they're doing this at the same time. But it looks good, and look, e-bikes are clearly the way of the future, aren't they? So any development in that space has got to be a good thing.
You can pedal your e-bike with your e-trainers and you barely spend any effort at all.
And not burn off any calories. I'm not sure that's a good thing, is it?
No. Something else that isn't a good thing is the Jaguar Land Rover hack is now officially the costliest cyber attack in UK history. Wow.
I think that's not a big surprise, is it? I think we saw that coming.
We did see that coming, and we won't go into this in any great detail, but we know how long production has been stopped. We know the impact it's had in Jaguar Land Rover, and again, sort out your cyber guys. You need decent protection of all these systems, otherwise look at the impact it can have.
I completely agree, and start with the basics. A lot of companies just don't do the basics. Do the basics, the rest will come. So yeah, I'm not surprised, and it's the supply chain I feel sorry for. There's a lot of people in the supply chain that are clearly going to be struggling.
Yeah, and I think Land Rover were having a moment, Jaguar not so much, but you certainly see an awful lot of Defenders everywhere. I was watching the Peacemaker TV show, which we're going to talk about in the main part, and the sort of federal agents were driving around in Land Rover Defenders, and that's not a thing you'd have seen in an American TV show before.
No, that's true.
Should we do some media?
Yep, let's do it.
So first up, and we will talk about Peacemaker in a minute, is that apparently Warner Brothers has put itself up for sale. Warner Brothers is the network that have Peacemaker, as it happens. And Apple has apparently shown an interest in acquiring its TV and film library. I think Warner Brothers is also HBO, so there's probably quite a lot within this deal.
Yeah, and it's always been a bit odd with Apple, isn't it? They've not really got much of a back catalogue of anything, whereas, you go on Prime and you get, regular movies on it that you can either buy or occasionally, they come up for free to watch. So Apple do need something like this, some form of back catalogue, I think. It would certainly help, I think, if they try and pull more in. And it seems like it would be a good fit for Apple.
I got to think if they wanted to do it, they'd have done it by now, is the only thing. I don't think they're in any great rush to get a back catalogue. It's funny, I was on iPlayer yesterday, and iPlayer now has a movie section where they will show films available, which wasn't a thing that I used to see on iPlayer. It was largely just pushing the BBC's own homegrown stuff as much as anything else. So I think this is interesting that all the streaming platforms are beginning to realise it's not only just about our stuff. If you go on Disney Plus now, there's ITV content in there.
Oh, I did not know that. I don't have any streaming stuff at the moment, so we are due to go and get something there. I think members of my family are pushing for different streaming services at the moment.
So this would be an interesting acquisition for Apple. It would give them quite a decent movie back catalogue. Warner Brothers own lots of things. Do Warner Brothers own Harry Potter? I feel like they do.
Yeah, it's the Warner Brothers Studios here, isn't it, in the UK, that you can go and see all the Harry Potter stuff. So yeah, man, and on Amazon making the Harry Potter new TV show. So that would be quite interesting.
It would be quite interesting. So I think it would be a sensible acquisition for Apple. And I think for a tech company, we talked about this before when they were potentially going to buy Disney. It's not that much money, really. Apple can afford it.
Apple can afford anything they want. So I worry, though, would it be too big an acquisition for Apple?
Yeah, I don't think it'll happen. They don't have a history of doing this kind of stuff, really.
No, it's too big, I think. That'd be my view. It'll be interesting to see how that goes.
I agree. Managed to watch film this week. I'm just catching up on all my superhero stuff. As I said last week, I finally got around to watching Captain America Brave New World. I wasn't excited to go and watch Captain America Brave New World. I was just doing it for completion's sake as much as anything else. I'm kind of in line with, somewhere in the middle of the Rotten Tomatoes scores here. The critics gave it 46%. The audience gave it 76%. I'd give it about 50%. It was fine. It was all right. It's fine.
Do you think we just had too many superhero films?
I think, not to analyze it too much, Disney caused a problem for themselves by making it also interconnected. You had to watch the TV show to understand what was going on for the next film. You had to be a super fan. And most people just want to drop in, turn their brains off and watch a film most of the time. So having that requirement that you got to keep, watch 10 episodes of a TV show as well as the last 3 movies to understand what's happening in the incredibly complicated film was quite an ask for people.
They certainly lost me through that, I think, in that I would probably have watched way more if I didn't need to watch all of them, and I got so far through it. So I don't think it's turned out well for them in the end, and especially now there's such a big back catalogue and people that haven't seen them, they're less likely to actually go back and make a start on it.
I mean, this is fine because I do understand what's going on in the background, but I will say there's some good set pieces in this film. Harrison Ford is very much there for the paycheck, though. You can see him phoning it in.
That's not good, is it?
It's really not good. Something that is good is the TV show Peacemaker, which I think I've talked about before. Have you watched the Suicide Squad movie? The Suicide Squad, not Suicide Squad, from a couple of years back, which had Idris Elba, John Cena, and others in it. It's an absolutely terrific film directed by James Gunn. There's a character in that called Peacemaker, who has now on his second season of a spin-off. It's just terrific. You can see from the critics and the audience, it's an absolutely wonderful show. Don't watch it with children. It is not that kind of thing. But any superhero show that starts off with a dance with all the main characters in it as the title sequence, you got to be all over that. And John Cena is terrific. It's a great show.
Yeah, no, fair enough. It sounds like it's good. I know I've not seen this. I'm so far behind on stuff at the moment. I think I don't know. I just haven't be carving out time to watch stuff.
I think you should. Have you not watched the Suicide Squad movie?
I don't think so.
Right, you should make it a priority. It's got Doctor Who in it. It's got one of the Capaldis, the older Capaldi. Lewis Capaldi? No, that's the singer. Peter Capaldi. Peter Capaldi's in it, as well as Idris Elba. So, it's a win-win, really. And Margot Robbie, actually.
Okay, I've heard of it. And I know you've spoken about it on this show. I've just been a bad person.
I notice I'm the only person watching stuff this week. Chris, where's all yours?
I don't really know. I think between dog walking and work, I just have not had the opportunity, so I apologise.
And yet for the last 20-odd years, well, certainly the last 9 years, I've had a dog and done all this kind of stuff, and I've managed to do these things. Come on, man.
I apologise. I've not had a good week, I think, just to do anything that I want to do. I've just been doing stuff for other people.
Bake Off, Taskmaster?
I am up to speed with Bake Off.
There you go.
But not Taskmaster. I don't even know where we are with Taskmaster anymore.
Sad. Games?
Yeah, let's do it.
Right, very, very quickly, because there's not much to talk about. I haven't had that much time. I did go back and re-explore Civilization 7 a couple of weeks back. I was having quite a nice time. The patches have actually made a difference to it. Also, Explorers back for your settlers. It was all going very, very well on my Mac, and then it crashed about 40 turns in. So I was so annoyed I just quit it. So the patches aren't working 100%, but I will say they've definitely improved the game. I just thought it was interesting looking at the Metacritic reviews, though. The critics are rating it generally favourable, a 7.9, whereas the user score is 3.7. So that's quite a disparity.
That's just, there's something not right there, is there? That's so different. I did actually fire up my gaming computer the other day, and I have downloaded all the latest patches for it. I just didn't get around to playing it because I went and played Command and Conquer for half an hour instead. But I do want to circle back now they've done all the patches and try this out.
Fair enough. And then last but not least, and I can't remember if I've talked about this before, I did fire up my Switch 2 just to make sure that it's still all is well with it. I know you play a bit of Donkey Kong Bonanza, which I do need to return to, but Tetris 99 is still a thing that's on there. And if you've got a Nintendo, it's not a Nintendo Plus subscription, whatever the subscription is for the Nintendo service, you get Tetris 99 for free. And it's a hugely fun game. Have a go. If you like a bit of Tetris, this is competitive Tetris. It's really fun.
Okay, I do like Tetris, and I should give this a go. I have fired up my Switch recently, and I played a bit of Quake and Donkey Kong Bonanza.
So there you go. You played an old school game and a newer one. But check out Tetris 99. I think you'd enjoy it.
I quite like old school games.
It does have the classic Tetris music as well.
Ooh, now that's a bit more interesting. I should give this a whirl.
You absolutely should give this a whirl. Main show?
Yeah, let's do it.
So this is kind of a strange one, really, that in as much as what's going on with apps is what we've sort of tentatively titled it. And you sort of touched on it in the pre-show, that why is Apple being so slow at updating some of their apps? What is going on in the world of apps at the moment that is making everything seem so laggy?
Yeah, and we live in a world where it's usually quite easy for people to update an app, push it out to the world. But I don't know. We don't seem to be getting any great new features, and apps just, especially big corporate apps, just, well, I think I've seen a lot of change on Microsoft apps on my iOS devices, but yeah, I'd agree. Apps just seem to be going very glacially forwards.
I mean, I'd argue that point. You've seen some changed icons in your Microsoft apps. I don't think you've seen changed
no, they've
apps.
done other stuff, like just stuff within the app of, obviously they're pushing Copilot quite heavily. They're obviously moving the summarize button. They've been changing some of the interface elements on the iPhone a little bit, because of some of it used Outlook a lot and had a break for 4 or 5 months and then came back to it. So, okay, they've done a little bit. I mean, none of it's groundbreaking, but it's good to see that things are casually moving forwards. But
I disagree. Okay. As someone who uses Outlook on the Mac a lot, everything I've seen has been very intrusive. They've changed the icon, they've added a Copilot button, and they've got very aggressive about trying to also complete everything you ever type. Like horrifyingly aggressive. That they're trying to finish sentences for you now, and I absolutely hate it. And trying to find ways to turn that stuff off is really difficult. I feel like the people that complained about the ribbon toolbar when it came in the first time.
Yeah, I remember when that launched. I was just thinking about that. Wow.
Yeah, I feel like I'm having something pushed on me that I want no part. And I was all in on the ribbon toolbar. I thought it surfaced a load of things within Microsoft apps that were always very difficult. How do I add a table of contents? How do I add a graph to my Excel chart? Whatever it would be. It made that a lot more obvious to get to. I knew how to do it using the menus, and if you go and install LibreOffice, the default is still the non-ribbon toolbar. You can change it to default if you want. Okay. It's an option, so LibreOffice has that now too. But this was a big deal about, 25 years ago, I think I want to say it was for Microsoft. It's a long time we've had the ribbon toolbar on that interface. So, but that pushing of features, and Copilot is the real sticky thing here. Yeah, they've updated the icons and maybe they've moved a couple of things around. There's nothing fundamentally different about the apps, though. You haven't suddenly got a bunch of new features, or they've made things significantly easier to use for than you did before. And
yeah, you're right. I do feel you're right there. There's no new amazing, I don't know, pivot table functionality or something in Word that's revolutionary, or in PowerPoint. I think you're right. Most of it's just all Copilot stuff. And actually, if you took somebody that used PowerPoint 20 years ago and showed them PowerPoint today, they'd probably get on with it after 5 minutes. Oh, look, a couple of things have moved around, but actually nothing's really changed.
And that's fine for a corporate suite of apps, I think. Other than, let me switch off the stupid features you're putting in, please, because not all of us want them. Like the LLM in an Excel cell that couldn't work out how to add stuff up, if you'll recall. Let me switch that stuff off, fine. But I want my business-focused apps to be fairly predictable and understanding. If they could add in a new pivot table, or imagine that it was just a grammar feature rather than trying to finish your sentences or something like that they put in with a little more sensitivity for the way you write, then I think that would be far more acceptable, and that would actually be a useful use of a tool. Maybe the visual creation stuff inside a PowerPoint, if you're trying to describe a particular chart or a particular background for your slides, then there could actually be sensitive uses of these technologies within the apps, and that would be a good way forward. But just going, oh, here's a button that's going to summarize some stuff for you or create 6 random slides with something that you don't want to do. That's not what I want. I want you to work with me, not against me when I'm doing this stuff. And I feel like Microsoft are working against me a lot of the time inside of the the Office suite.
Yeah, I can understand that. I think it is interesting with all the tech we have and all the device capability that we don't really do much different with them. And do you know what I mean? And apps are just moving so slowly forward, especially Apple's own apps. I think it's frustrating that they're not even pushing the boundaries of what you can do on the device and maintaining their apps in the way that they should be.
This is exactly the thing, and this is what I want to talk about. And Joe Rosensteel at Six Colors has an article we'll go through in a minute. But I think it's both things, isn't it? It's they're not pushing forward with their own apps, but the marketplaces and the app stores are stopping others from being able to really sort of push the boundaries of what's available on the platform as well. So that constraint and control that they've put, particularly on iOS and iPadOS, over what users can actually do with these things and how much flexibility they've got to reach into the file system to actually do interesting things with window managers. A lot of the innovation that came to the computers that we use these days is because of, particularly in Apple, independent developers coming along and writing amazing apps that made you want to buy a Mac to get hold of. There's been so many examples of those over the years, and a couple of them have been bought by Apple. We already talked about the Shortcuts app. That was a way to go into iOS and do interesting things by scripting what had happened before. And Apple didn't really like it, bought the developer team, did the bare minimum in order to do some sort of automation on it, and then the team walked away. So even when they've got the opportunity to do interesting things with their own apps and tying them together in more interesting ways to do exactly what you've just described, they don't take it.
No, I think you're right. And I think we're going to talk about the Atlas browser in a minute as well. And I think that's kind of the epitome of it. Like web browsers, again, how many people live in a web browser all day, every day? And actually, if you took the Safari of today and compared it with Safari from, when did it come out? Not quite 20 years ago, somewhere around there. So it's been a while, hasn't it? But again, you could probably look at the one 20 years ago and look at one now and go, oh, right. Yeah, iconography's changed. It's not brushed metal anymore, but actually it looks strangely familiar.
But who knew Safari was going to be the stick that they'd beat us with? Who knew when they released it for the Mac, because Internet Explorer was garbage, that would be the only way to get web browsing for a very, very long time on your phone and on your iPad?
Yeah, true. Like that framework is in most countries the only way that you can actually render a web page on an iOS device, unless you're in the EU, I think, and that's about it, isn't it?
And that's about it. And that's really quite an unacceptable situation. Your general purpose computing device, through security, they say, is very much limited to what the manufacturer will let you do. And that's the essence of a lot of people's problems with the App Store.
Yeah, I can see your point. They've held us back, and you're just not seeing apps that are really pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
But then, the flip side of this is what are they doing with their own apps? And this article from Six Colors, as I've said, highlights a couple of things that they really haven't made an awful lot of changes with over the time. And the first ones are examples of things that have gone away. So Clips, an app we talked about that were sunsetting a couple of years back, was a fairly generic app that brought a couple of technologies together, wrapped it up in some fairly and then they killed it. And we see exactly the same with Invites, and we've seen a couple of apps launched by Apple recently, Apple Music Classical being another example, where they really don't care. It's like, is it good enough? And they give out this blancmange of a very half-assed app, and then it don't support it, and it goes away.
Yeah, no, you're right, and it puts you off wanting to get into it because you're like, is this app going to stay or is it going to just disappear?
Yeah. So that's leg one of the stool. The second one is things that they're not updating. So like iMovie, I can't even remember the last time I launched it. It doesn't fit my purposes, but I used to see quite a lot of movies developed using iMovie. You'd see them on YouTube. I'd see people using them on their Macs when we were out in the wild, and I don't see that anymore. iMovie, as a consumer level, comes with a computer, has cool features in it, seems to have gone away completely.
Yeah, I'd agree there. And a lot of people have actually opted, I think, to use the bigger tools because they've become more, the bigger stuff's become a lot more affordable to people, I think.
Well, in many cases, it's free as well. In which case, if that's what you're going to do, then they need to drop the price of Final Cut Pro. But then also, they need to do more interesting things with Final Cut Pro, because the biggest innovation they've had in Final Cut Pro recently has been the ability to use separate iPhones as cameras and tie all that together. And that, I think, still hasn't come to the iPad version of Final Cut Pro. I don't know how well integrated it is into because I don't use Final Cut Pro anymore because DaVinci Resolve is a better editor. Simple as that. Most people use Adobe or DaVinci these days. Final Cut Pro. Apple screwed this up when they did Final Cut Pro 10 way back in the day. They lost a load of people then. And they got some back by building a really fast, smooth, works really well on the platform video editor that now is lacking the features people want to be able to very quickly get on and do their videos. And they're not innovating. It's literally what it was, as you said. If you'd put me in front of today's Final Cut Pro 15 years ago, I'd be able to get on fine.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it, that everything's just slow hand cranks of, we're adding small bits of functionality, but there's nothing major coming to any apps, really. Even if you looked at the Photos app and compared it to iPhoto from 10, 15 years ago, I'm trying to think when we had iPhoto, you could draw a line between the two. There's some good stuff in there, don't get me wrong, but is there anything that's really taking advantage of all the tech and power that we have these days?
No, absolutely not. I agree. And then you've got something like Aperture, which was a truly interesting app and predated Lightroom. I loved Aperture. It was a great way of managing my digital photographs and making edits and applying those edits. And they just killed it through lack of interest.
They did, and then they didn't really fold any of the cool stuff into their consumer app. They could have done kept some of the Aperture goodness around, but they didn't.
And then the last sort of leg of this stool is what are they doing with things that they buy? So, I mean, you've already said that we're not really seeing updates to pages or, interesting things that for the internal stuff. And then they go out and they spend a lot of money buying things like Pixelmator and Photomator. And then they're not really getting updated either. So what is the point in spending all the money other than just to take a competitor out of the market?
And there are apps I love, by the way. I think I've always liked Pixelmator, used it for years. It's frustrating, I think. For me, it's like, I want to know that app's going to carry on into the future.
Yeah, so I just think I'm dissatisfied really with where Apple are with their apps at the moment. I use some of them. I'm trying to think. I think I use Safari as probably my most used Apple app. Obviously Apple platforms, but what it all comes back to at the moment is the web browser. The web browser is where we go for doing a research, for interacting with things like Teams or whatever sometimes, or Zoom. It's always sort of the fallback as you've got the web browser. And then you've had to go with a different one this week, right?
Yeah, I did have a look at ChatGPT Atlas as well. And interesting in their little video, they're like, we don't just want to make a browser that's just got a chatbot on it. And then they've literally made a browser that's just got a chatbot on it. And literally the Atlas browser looks just like Safari, but the homepage has got, ChatGPT as a search box on it. And I just found it really disappointing you could have done something, different and made us interact with the internet in a different way, but you haven't bothered. Brilliant. I just found it really, really bizarre and used it for about 5 minutes and then walked away because I was just like, I thought they might do something really innovative, and I quite like some of OpenAI's design aesthetic, like when you use ChatGPT. But it's just so disappointing. It's like, oh, look, this is literally Chrome or Safari, and on the new tab page, you've just got ChatGPT there. And I was just like, oh, they've just done nothing really interesting about how you manage your tabs or how you browse a website or how you search. It's just, I don't know, so frustrating. And I thought this would be a good opportunity for them to do something different.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem, you've got to have a Mac to do this, which I think is interesting.
I did try to. I went on the iOS store. I thought I'd try it out there, and I was like, oh, right, it's not there. And then I worked out, it's just on the Mac.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised really that ChatGPT have done a half-assed job of this as well. You fork Chrome, you wangle a bit of ChatGPT into it, and then off you go. It's interesting. NL Dash has a very good blog post about his experiences of using it, and a lot of it is the privacy you're surrendering by running something like this as well. I mean, you're not that private on the web anyway. You can use a VPN, you can put in an ad blocker, and everybody should put in an ad blocker. I'll say that now. But when you're actually surrendering all your search history, all your activities on the web to one company, rather than it being parceled out between advertisers, your internet service provider, yada yada, the way these things go, the ad trackers that follow you everywhere, that's a huge amount of power you're putting in one person. And then you're putting on it exactly what you're searching for. Maybe you're researching a holiday or something like that. All that is going through that. And my understanding of Atlas is it doesn't actually surface the content particularly well for you either. So one article I read said they went and searched for Taylor Swift. It built a bunch of possibly good things about Taylor Swift based on a bunch of stuff. Didn't have the history of her latest album release released because it was slightly out of date, rather than taking it to Taylor Swift's website, it was not making up, but pulling a bunch of historical sources effectively and not giving you the most up-to-date information. So that's a bad starting point. Plus the privacy problems, plus it's only Mac only, plus presumably you're giving it to a company that's losing money. There's a lot to go wrong here, and it's not even a brand new technology. It's just a forked web browser with some APIs banged into it.
Yeah, like I say, I thought it was epically disappointing. I just wanted to try it, just to say I've tried it in the element of research, but I thought it was going to be I thought they were going to just reimagine how we do tabbed internet browsing. And yet, whoever came up with tabs all those years ago, who knew it was going to hang around for 20 years? It's crazy, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it's a paradigm that works. We want more web content, so rather than lots of windows, you just keep it all in the one window. It's just tidying, isn't it?
But everybody does the same thing. You've got the uni bar, I can't remember what you called it. We used to have a search and then an address
Omnibar.
bar.
Omnibar.
And we've had tabs, and they were kind of the two biggest innovations, and then nothing. Nobody's really sat down and thought, how can we do this better or different? And it's a little, I don't know, I find it a little frustrating. And I think that was the problem.
I agree with you in one sense, but on another, I think there's no real push by people on the companies on the web to change things. They've got a paradigm that works for them. The search, there's advertising, it makes money. The only thing that's challenging this is the LLM, which is bringing you the knowledge from somewhere else that's not Google or Yahoo or Apple or Microsoft or whoever the sort of underlying search provider is, Meta. So ChatGPT, OpenAI and others have a chance to do something here, but I'm not sure this is the way to do it. They're not truly bringing together the web and an LLM. They're surfacing their LLM directly to you, just in another interface for doing so. So rather than going to chatgpt.com or whatever it is, you're just doing everything in the web. And, point one here, Atlas substitutes its own AI-generated content for the web, but it looks like it's showing you the web. And if anything should have Google running scared, it's that. Or Apple. Pick your company. That your latest, greatest release could just be marked down within this, or not indexed by this, or not form part of the algorithm, and it's never going to show it to you. There's a way to get rid of a competitor right there. There's a way to stop people, doing research on the American Revolution or something like that, and it not mentioning the North at any part in it at all. It's
it's a big concern, isn't it?
Staggeringly worrying.
Yeah, I think you're right. You've got to be careful who you trust, because they could show you their view of the world, whereas actually what you want is the actual view of the world.
Yeah, this Taylor Swift, it was from this article, that's me having a bit of a brain dump at this time in the morning. There was no actual link to the Taylor Swift website in this. I mean, that's rewriting history right there.
Quite a big bit of history. Not that I actually know any Taylor Swift songs, I don't think, but it's quite a big bit of modern history, though, isn't it, Taylor Swift, to be fair?
Taylor Swift is a phenomenal songwriter and deserves all the success that she has. I have no issues with this at all. Also, the links to the Swift language, you can't go wrong with that. So it's just, it deeply worries me, this sort of push to work. I understand why the companies are doing it, because they're hemorrhaging money and they want to get as many people onto the things, which ironically costs them more money every time somebody puts a query in, it runs a query in their data center. I think there's still this huge gap between being told what it is that we want and what they're actually able to give us once we're even there. And that sort of chasm, and bringing it back to the point of the conversation, I don't think Apple are updating all their apps particularly well, because their attention is over here. I think they're looking at this kind of stuff and they're going, well, maybe this is the answer to all of our problems. We can fire up our own version of Siri that's got this, or we'll buy Perplexity, or we'll do something else, or we'll have a partnership with OpenAI or Google, and it's going to solve our problem. And I genuinely don't think it is. And there's a creative vacuum that we're seeing, not only in the lack of innovation in apps, but the fact that everybody's attention is over here on this one thing, and it's going to hurt the computing industry as a whole.
It's disappointing, though, that a company like Apple perhaps doesn't give its teams enough autonomy, because, the iWork team, the Apple Music team, insert whichever team here, should be able to release new features when they want to release new features. But yet they seem to have their hands tied behind their back, which is frankly bizarre. Like, you look at Apple Music, and they launched the app all those years ago and have done not a lot with it, and it's so frustrating because it could be so much better and have more. It should be getting more features every quarter. There should be a roadmap of new features, but we just don't really get anything. We just get some deck chairs moving on the Titanic, and I find it really bizarre.
I can only agree. Anyway, we're not going to fix it today. Shall we Shall we do an app of the week?
Yeah, let's do it.
So last up for me, I am going to recommend something that may surprise you, and that's the Apple Home app.
My mind is blown.
So, for various long and boring reasons, I've had to create a second home in my home app. Who knew you could even do that? But it actually makes sense. If you've got a holiday home or a flat or something else like that, you may have to have more than one home in the home app. It was very easy to do. It knows where you are pretty much. So when you visit one or the other, it flips between them. And very, very quickly, I got 4 Matter sockets up and running with no problems whatsoever. And I've now got controllable lights in this other place. And I was just blown away, A, by how easy it was, and B, the fact that it's just integrated with Siri. I can say turn on and off the lights. I've got automation set up. I'm just really pleased how simple it was. So here's a good news story. Well done, Apple. That's good.
I must confess, I love the Apple Home app because every time I've bought anything smart, other than my Dyson heater, it's in the app. I make sure it's Apple Home compliant. And I found it really good for my kids and my wife to be able to put the lights on, put the heating on, unlock the front door. It's just been a good hub, and I think Apple have actually done a pretty good job. It's fairly reliable on the whole. Obviously, it works with a lot of third-party equipment, but I actually really like the Apple Home app. So this gets a thumbs up from me.
There you go. A recommendation we can both agree on, although I'm going to push back on yours now I've seen what the link is. But tell us about what your thing of the week is.
My thing of the week. And I actually purposely put the Spotify link in there because I actually don't have Spotify, but I was listening to a podcast called The Rewatchables, and I was just listening to the episode on sneakers because I thought I used to occasionally listen to a few movie podcasts, and there's a lot of old films I'd like to rewatch, and Sneakers was one of them. And this is quite a good podcast. I've only listened to one show on it about sneakers, but I just quite enjoyed listening to something about movies. And I'd kind of forgotten that Spotify does its own podcast production, I guess, or producing and probably ad insertion. So there you go. But it is available on all podcast players. So I've just listened to this in Overcast.
So that's great. It sounds like an interesting podcast, but I am just for balance's sake going to say everybody should boycott Spotify. A, because they don't pay their artists enough, but B, they continue to support platforms like Joe Rogan, who pushes anti-vaccines and things like that, and has been known to be controversial when it comes to race, diversity, inclusion, all that kind of stuff. And Spotify continue to support that, and he's not the only one. And the Death Spotify movement is growing. Not that Apple are entirely innocent and all this kind of stuff in terms of paying royalties back to artists and all the rest of it, but I think there's some questionable things going on within Spotify that, by all means, if you're a Spotify subscriber, and I was, so my hands are not clean here, their algorithm is very, very good, but I think it might just be worth having a little bit of an investigation when you've got artists such as Massive Attack, King Gizzard and Lizard Wizard, Neil Young and others coming and going from the platform. There's something more significant going on there, so just careful where you get your media, folks.
Agreed. I'm not a Spotify subscriber. I don't think I ever have been. I ended up in Apple Music, and I've been there ever since. But the Rewatchables podcast, again, is removing the art from the artiste. Well, not necessarily the artist, the publisher in this case, I guess. But it's actually quite a good podcast, and I've enjoyed it.
There you go. I think we call that a show, Chris.
I think so. So if anybody wants to get in contact with us, Rod is at g5maniac@mastodon.scot. He's also on Blue Sky, where he's at g5maniac.bsky.social. I'm on Mastodon, where I'm at _CGP at mastodon.social. Watch on YouTube by going to the website, click on the YouTube link, or you can drop us an email at waitfromsleep@protonmail.com.
Talk to you next week, Chris.
Cheers, Rod.